You're listening to Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio. Sponsored by Treebor Soft Mints. Absolute Radio.
So let us commence. It's the Not the Weekend podcast with Frank Skinner, Emily Dean and Gareth Richards. I'm giving you the full names now.
We've got surnames.
New readers start here.
Yeah.
And so, they know who they're dealing with. They can Google you,
Oh, I hope they don't do that.
Well, Google Image or Google Web. I might ask Jeeves you when I get home.
Wow. Oh, how very 80s of you.
Yeah. Does it still work, Ask Jeeves?
I think so.
I think it's just I was working with Stephen Fry last week. It just feels right. You ask Jeeves and you get 9 pages of A4 come out the printer telling you. Anyway, so I'm feeling unkind about Steve. He's I admire intelligence in people. I do.
No, I do. I often do.
So do I. We all admire intelligence in people.
That's
No, but
good. Do you think we should be working in commercial radio? That's what we've got to ask ourselves. Yeah, we seem ill-fitted in the extreme. Nevertheless, to continue this theme, as it turns out, I went to a poetry reading last week.
Oh.
Wow.
And it was at the Royal Festival Hall on the south bank of the River Thames. And during the interval, I was with my girlfriend Kath, and you sit round and we don't, because neither of us drink. There's no point in us going out during the interval, really.
What about a nice ice cream? Don't fancy that?
Ice cream at poetry.
Is that a bit common of me?
Don't know.
Ice cream at poetry, do you?
A
A lot of people do. No, we did go out for a little bit because there was a half-hour interval. Now that's quite a lot. And the reason you get big intervals at poetry readings is because you're supposed to go and, buy some books.
Oh, is that
That's
right?
how it works, yeah. So they don't want to
Oh,
rush you.
I'm queuing for the popcorn.
Yeah, I didn't see much popcorn on the go. I'm not saying it wasn't there. I think I think you could smoke a pipe in the interval. That was one of the options. Yeah, outside, of course. Al fresco. But no popcorn I didn't see. Anyway...
Was it a particular poet, or was it...
It was 9 poets, to be precise.
Nine of them?
Yeah, it was the T.S. Eliot nomination, so it included such well-known poets as Seamus Heaney.
Oh, yeah.
Simon
I've heard of
Armitage.
him.
Yeah.
Something about digging.
Yeah. And that Sam Willits bloke, who used to be a heroin addict, and was brilliant. Anyway... I'm not here to talk about poetry. It's an Absolute Radio podcast, for goodness sake. Do you want to send the whole system into a spiralling explosion? No. When we sat there and we were looking at this audience, we're talking, probably 1,000 people.
What happened there? Did someone just make a cup of coffee?
Yeah, and I was thinking I said to Kath, so who do you fancy? I said, you pick a bloke who you fancy in the audience, and I'll pick a woman who I fancy. Of course, as soon as I said it, I thought that's a mistake. I'm going to let her pick one, and then I'm going to change the subject up. She's forgot there's some obligation on me, because if I pick a woman I fancy in the audience, I'll be paying for it until way past the Olympics. So
also, Frank, you did ask this at a poetry reading.
Yes.
I'm not being rude about the assembled customers, but... Well, I am, actually.
Well, there's no need, because let me tell you, neither of us could come up with one person in the room who, even in a state of heavy drunkenness, we'd even want to, not about share a bed, share a lift with. And, I mean, they were clearly like-minded people that they were at this event, but there was... It was so sans beauty, it was unbelievable.
Wow.
It was almost like people were doing it deliberately.
So poet groupies are not fun. No wonder poets are so serious.
Well, it might have just been a bad night, you know what I'm saying, on the poetry scene. But anyway, but it did...
A lot of women in bright lipsticks and hats, I find, at those sort of gatherings.
There's a lot of women who look like Sir Elton John there. If you can imagine Sir Elton John in leggings... there was a lot of women.
Oh, I can.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And a big forgiving
I didn't
scarf.
think you'd be able to. I didn't think for a second you'd be able to, or otherwise I wouldn't have even tried it.
So were you quite relieved in a way, Frank?
Well, I was, because it's tricky with I once mentioned to Kath casually that I'd been out with about 7 women in succession before her. over this period of about 2 or 3 years where they all had cropped blonde peroxide hair. Yeah. And now every time we see a woman anywhere near that look, you know, I'm talking Annie Lennox, Angus Deaton. Angus Deaton.
Mark Ronson.
He's had an image change.
No, it has to be
a woman.
Well, I say it has to be the woman. She did once made a bit of an inference while I was watching Karl Lagerfeld on the telly. He's your type. That's what she always says. Oh, she's your type.
It was a sort of...
Karl Lagerfeld is a man whose throat is out of control. Have you noticed that?
He's my favourite man in the world.
He's got a turkey throat. I hope you don't mind.
I love him.
And he wears a tight clasp. You know that Andy Gray thing when he says, here, would you like to come and tuck this in? This is what Karl Lagerfeld says to people about his throat. Would you like to come and tuck this in? He, he, he. And, of course, then it's not so offensive because you're only working around the Adam's apple area. Anyway, so I did... I basically I've always quite liked women who look like men.
Yes, you have.
Make of that what you will.
But Kathy's very sort of feminine.
Yeah, she's
and
like a
pretty.
1950s.
Yeah, she looks
Jane
like a doll
Russell type.
Yeah.
A doll?
A doll, like a pretty Victorian doll.
Adele?
Does she?
Yeah.
A doll.
I've never seen a doll with breasts like that. Well, I have, but it was. Anyway.
No, but Frank, yeah, I know what you mean. There was a Zola Budd thing going on for a while.
Yeah, there was.
He did actually like Zola Budd.
But anyway, just talking about people you fancy, I find if I discuss women who Kath has, like I said, oh yeah, I'm working with this woman now on the show, there's a tension in the air. And I have to say, I'm working with this woman now, she is quite ugly.
Oh, thanks a lot. I'm working with this woman on the show, she is quite ugly.
No, well, she knows you, so she's confident. I'm joking. She knows you as a friend, so she doesn't think anything's going to happen. But I find myself saying negative things about females for no other reason than to make her think there's no way in the world you would possibly stray. Do you get this with Laura, or...?
Well, I think there's a balance between who you can say you fancy, and I think it's how likely you are to ever meet that person is important. So, you know, it's okay probably for me to say I fancy Alicia Keys. If I go home and say, do you know what, Emily is incredibly attractive.
Yeah, well, this is like that Peter Kay advert, isn't it, on the telly? But it's all, she says if you could just, you know, anyone at all, and she's waiting for him to say a celebrity, and he says, oh, you're that Dawn at work, and that is a very bad answer indeed.
But you see, this is what's difficult, because, Frank, if you say a celebrity, I mean, normally people say that's fine with celebrities, but if you say a celebrity, you could be meeting them on Hole in the Wall next week.
That is true.
So, actually, in fairness to Cass, she would be absolutely justified in feeling a little bit jealous.
I should say, Hole in the Wall is the nickname of a toilet I sometimes go to in North London. Well, no, there is always a danger of that. You can rave about a celebrity beauty, and I mean, Will Smith. You know Will Smith, the Muhammad Ali.
Very familiar with him.
Independence Day man. He apparently every film he does, he falls in love with somebody on the production. He gets completely infatuated. And he tells his wife about it, and she'll phone him up and say, so, you know, what's she wearing today? And he's saying, oh, she looks gorgeous. And they're completely okay about it.
Are they?
Well, yes.
Well, that's the thing as well, is whether if you just like find someone very aesthetically pleasing, stroke, are you actually in love with them? That's also...
Don't dress it up with your aesthetic.
I think fancying...
You're still some Andy Gray at heart.
I think fancying is different from... What I hated most about the Andy Gray thing was when they were laying into the lineswoman and say, you know, she didn't get the offside. There seemed to be an underlying suggestion that male football officials aren't complete idiots. And I found that very, very wrong indeed. I can show you hours of video evidence that male football officials don't understand the offside rule. I'm all for verbally abusing football officials, but I think you have to be democratic. Women, if they're football officials, is fine, but on the grounds of the mean football officials, clearly I got a frog in my throat. Too late, I've been fired. Oh well, so...
Frank, can I just say something also about this fancy people? So when, you know, if you see someone on telly... If you ever make the mistake, don't ever do this with a woman, because an ex-boyfriend once said to me about Fergie from the Black Eyed Peas. We're watching her on telly, and he went, oh, feel sorry for her boyfriend. I said, what? He said, oh yeah, that must be an awful life. I said, what do you mean? What do you mean? So then this exploded. It was a bit of a row.
Did he mean that men would always be hitting on?
He essentially meant it got into him saying, I'd rather go out with Fergie from the Black Eyed Peas than you. That's what it degenerated into after I prodded him enough. So then every time a Black Eyed Peas song came on, we had a row. We could never listen to it again.
Yeah, I can see that. It's like it's a Pavlovian.
Well, exactly.
Yeah. It's difficult because, I would, walk down the road and say, that's a brilliant building. Oh, what a nice dog that is. Look at that cute kid. I love that painting. She's all right. We're in trouble. You know what I mean? It is just one refers to beautiful things.
Mm. Well, Kathy does that a lot, you see. So, Kathy, for example, she'll say, she sent me a text the other day saying, I loved your dress so much the other night, I want to marry you. Which was really lovely.
But if I'd sent you that, she'd found out about it, well, you'd have probably taken me to court. And also, she said to me of men, like she said to me of Hugh Laurie. Oh, he's very beautiful.
That's a strange choice.
Yeah. You see, I wouldn't be able to say that of Dame Sybil Thorndike.
But she's an agent. What if she ends up representing Hugh
Dame
Laurie?
Sybil Thorndike is an agent. Well, I'm siding with her immediately. I bet she's got some thrust in negotiations. Anyway, I'd be interested to hear from couples all over the land about this dilemma. I once said to Kath, on the strength of a magazine in a shop, oh, God, Scarlett Johansson looks good, doesn't she? God, dear. I can't watch her in a film now. Nightmare. Yeah, I've had to just blot her out of my life. If I refer to her at all, it's to say that she looks like a Doc's bomb. That's what I've been reduced to. Anyway, I tell you what, I've never found especially fabulous. Cameron Diaz, who everyone thinks is very beautiful.
Don't get it.
There's some beautiful people you think, oh, not for me. Angelina Jolie, can't see it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Who's your one girl?
June Brown.
Person.
I don't know where they're coming from, those people.
I have that, Frank, with George Clooney.
Apparently June Brown is much
Why are
more
two
attractive.
women gasping? Because I just said George Clooney.
No, because I said June Brown. They're both desperate for a cigarette. George Clooney, I think he's a handsome man, isn't he?
Leaves me cold.
They usually do. Yeah, I find it very hard to double guess who women will like. I went out with a woman who was obsessed with Christopher Lee.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah. Sure enough, she married David
Could have been
Walliams.
worse.
No, it wasn't. No.
Could have been Christopher Quentin.
It could have been, yes.
That would have been bad.
What, Brian? Yeah, I went to... I'll tell you what I saw the weekend. Yowza. I saw Green Hornet 3D.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God, I liked it.
Is it good?
I liked it. Oh, I loved it.
What is it, some superhero thing?
Not exactly. He doesn't have superpowers.
Oh, good.
He's a crime fighter. No,
Is he avenging his father or something? I don't like it when they avenge a father.
Well, no, his father is killed. There's a bit
Avoid
of father.
Hamlet. You won't like Hamlet at all.
There's a bit of father avenging going on, but no, he doesn't really like his father. Anyway, I'm not telling the plot.
Okay.
Not going to do that. But it was one of these. I don't know if you ever had this. I was laughing a lot more than anyone else in the cinema, and I never know if that's a minus or a plus.
Was it like Cape Fear when Robert De Niro's doing the creepy laughing sitting behind them?
Yeah, well, I mean, the person next to me, I put my thumb in their mouth. Just, So that's a Cape Fear reference for those of you thinking that's disgusting. And also, with swine flu and various other... The SARS. Is the SARS back? Can we check that?
I'll take a swab of your thumb.
Thanks very much.
What's going on here?
I don't know. Just let him have it.
Okay.
He's probably building a new me. So, anyway, I loved it. I liked it so much. And it turns out that a couple of days before, I'd seen Claudia Winkleman on her film show.
Right.
And boy, had she laid into Green Hornet 3D. She hated it.
Oh, did she?
And when the other guy who was on there started saying, oh, come on, it's not that bad, she was looking into camera and miming the words, it's not funny.
Really?
Wow.
And I...
So I don't I don't understand why she's. Does she know about films, Claudia Winkleman?
Yeah, she does. I'm going to defend her because she's my friend.
Well, I've always thought she was a lovely person until now.
Oh, no, has it put you off?
No, I think she's a buffoon.
No, she's not a buffoon.
I'll dismiss any of her opinion. I've never diametrically been so opposed to someone's view of anything, right? I could meet a fan of Adolf Hitler and I'd be able to say, well, you know, he kept it pretty well groomed. Or something, a plus. But she hated Green Hornet 3D. I loved it. There was no... How can that be?
But it's horrible when you disagree with someone that vehemently over a film.
Tell me about it. No, will you actually tell me about it?
Well, funny, this week, right, my mum, who I talked about last week, who does do some slightly eccentric things at times, she went to see The King's Speech with my dad.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I saw that. Not with them.
She hated it.
I went with them. They didn't know. I sat in the row behind.
They said someone laughed all the way through.
That was it.
Way.
What I was going to do is go to a Disney film
mouth.
and leave them at home, your parents. Anyway, carry on.
My mum hated The King's Speech. She said, well, I've seen that actor Colin Firth before, and he doesn't stutter like that. I know he doesn't stutter like that, so it's just stupid. I mean, what is it about? What is it about? It's just like the king and a man who's his friend helps him talk. I mean, so what?
Well, I can see that, though. I thought that when I saw Tony Curtis in The Boston Strangler. I thought I've seen him before, and I don't believe he does strangle people. I think that's all talk. Bruno Gantz, again.
And also in The King's Speech, Frank, which I know what your mum means. I mean, it's not that good. Calm down, everyone.
I haven't seen it yet. Is it not that good?
And FYI, Edward the Abdicator... It's just great. Much better character.
I wish he'd been called Edward the Abdicator.
That's what
like
I've called
Edward
him.
the Confessor.
Yeah, I've renamed him that.
Yeah.
He needs that moniker. Edward the Abdicator and
So
Mrs.
he was
Simpson.
with Mrs. Simpson.
They just seemed like they were having such a laugh. And I kept thinking, I want to know more about your life, not this boring man who can't talk properly. Awful.
Well, I can understand that. There was a thing on the news saying Colin Firth, as it turns out, doesn't even like the monarchy.
Oh, yeah, I saw that today.
Yeah, which is again, it's Bruno Gantz. Doesn't even believe in mass extermination, yet he's playing Hitler. What a hypocrite. That's acting, surely, as he's stuttering. I'd like to see a film called The Heir to the Throne's Car, which is about a bloke teaching Prince Charles how to open the windows on a car when they're approached by student protesters. I mean, that would be hours and hours of him saying, no, turn it this way, man. No, clockwise, Your Majesty. No.
Oh, I'd love that film.
Oh, that would be
and then we could recreate my favourite moment when Camilla gets on the floor.
Yeah, that would be...
She leapt onto the floor.
That would be good. One thing I don't really... I was surprised when I read about The King's Speech is that the theme tune is Changes by David Bowie.
Oh,
I think that's bad taste, isn't it? I wasn't happy with that.
There's also, Frank, in The King's Speech, this is the last thing I'll say about it, but...
You can say what you damn well like
Okay,
about
but
it.
you know when there's a man and they meet a man and they hate him, and then there's a point where they go, hey, maybe I'm wrong, which never happens in life because you hate someone and then you just never speak to them again. It should be more like real life. I know it wouldn't be as entertaining. You don't constantly have these epiphanies all the time, which they do in films, which I can't bear.
I think over to Gareth here.
What's that? Epiphanies in film?
No, I think hating someone and then deciding maybe I'll speak to him after all.
Yeah, I mean, that's the story of...
That's how me and Gareth get through this show. You women are so unforgiving. Oh, that's it, you've been sacked. No, I'll tell you what, if you... Sorry, Andy Gray there. In
defence of The King's Speech, after my mum's rant...
That's the sequel.
Yeah.
After my mum's rant, my sister-in-law did say, yeah, but you did fall asleep, didn't you? So she did sleep through.
Yeah, but it's not a great advert. I bet she wouldn't have slept during Green Hornet 3D.
Yeah, she would have. She falls asleep 20 minutes before the end of any film and wakes up for the credits, and then you have to explain to her what happened. So it may just have been my dad's acting wasn't very good at the end.
What did she think of The Usual Suspect?
She thought it all made perfect sense.
Did she? I don't get it.
So, something happened to me on the way home from a gig this week that was a little bit unusual. I was in a service. It was after the gig. The gig was in Andover, and I was in a service station. And the service station attendant man behind the till said to me, he wasn't English. English was not his first language.
Steady.
I think he had come here
this is getting
from
a bit
somewhere
racist.
else. I'm trying to say it in the least racist. There's nothing racist about it.
In the least racist way. So you're hoping for a hint of racism.
I'm hoping for no racism.
In a
but
racist
I'm not sure
way,
it's
but
possible.
the least racist way, at least. Why don't you say it in a non-racist way?
This is a story about a man who's not from England, whose English isn't brilliant. But
Okay, fair enough.
I have nothing
Are there
against any of
accents?
those people. I'm going with not accents.
Oh,
Is that okay?
Okay.
It's not as fun.
Okay, I'll do the act.
No.
yes.
Frank,
You see
I think
there?
Frank is
Called your bluff.
I
your
think
show.
it depends. It
What do you
depends.
say?
Well, it depends where he's from.
You'll gaff your
As
rules,
you know,
Frank.
there are some accents you can do and some accents you can't.
Well, that's-
If he's from Eastern Europe, we're fine. Is he from Eastern Europe?
No.
No accents then.
No accents. It will not be okay. And so he said to me, well, the first thing he said to me was, are you enjoying life?
Okay. Can you not sway your head from side to side when you're doing that?
And
Are you enjoying life? That's
Yeah.
a great question for a man in a garage.
yeah, and I was in the garage in Andover, so I was like, it's okay
Okay.
at the minute. And I said, are
Do you feel he was lonely?
He was definitely trying to spark up a conversation.
He shouldn't do that on a garage forecourt. Could have killed you all. Okay.
And he said to me, are you England? And I said, part of it.
Oh, clever.
But no, I said I'm English, and he said, I wonder if you can help. And,
He suddenly got articulate when he needed a favour.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny because you're speaking in broken English, but he did use some so he wanted me. He communicated to me that he wanted me to help him with the grammar of a message he was composing to a friend of his.
On a text, yeah?
Not on it's written on a piece of
In a
paper.
bottle?
I think
That's
it
going to
might.
go in a bottle. He's optimist.
I think it might have been for a text, but I think he was drafting it.
Was there a pigeon on the... just sitting on the top of the till? Wait, looking anxious.
He's
Okay.
drafting
No,
a
I
text
can't-
on
yes.
paper.
So what he showed me what he had so far.
Okay.
I don't know if it was what he had so far or what he had received, but it was the start of the message, and it said, "Boy failed in love, keeps beard."
Boy failed in love, keeps beard. Mm-hmm. Well, that'll be a Tom Cruise.
But a girl,
Could be Al Murray.
oh, that kind of beard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
boy failed in love, keeps beard, but girl hides in her heart. And he said, "Is that right?"
Are you sure this isn't a headline he's copied out of the Daily Star? Boy failed in love, keeps beard, but girl loses her heart.
Yes. And he wanted me, and he said, "Is it correct? The grammar?"
Well, I like it. I like the idea that in a tempestuous relationship, one person could lose their heart and another their beard. I like the way he switches from the physical to the emotional.
Yeah.
Yes. No, he said the first bit. I think I know what you mean by that.
Did
Boy
you?
failed in love, keeps beard.
What does that
Well,
mean?
because I think it means that if you're in a relationship, you might have to shave your beard off because your girlfriend might not like it. So you have to make
I
compromises to be in
see.
and maybe that represents your masculinity.
At
the
least you
beard.
get to keep your beard if
Yeah.
she's left you.
You
Yeah,
see,
she's
I
left-
fear that might be a saying of some kind.
Yeah.
Well,
This
what
is
was
I
the second
but I
part?
don't
So
know.
boy keeps
but then
beard.
but then he said, but I think the third bit, the second bit, and he said, "Is that right? But girl hides in her heart." And I said, "Well,
Oh, girl hides in her heart.
but girl,"
Oh, she should have hidden in his beard.
I said,
She wouldn't be the first.
I think it sort of sounds right, but it sounds like poetry. I'm not entirely, it's. So what we drafted something, and he said he wanted.
How long were you in the garage?
Well, it was a little while because he asked me for help, and I'm a helpful person.
You had a lot of time on your hands that evening.
Yeah.
What
so
time was this about?
this was about 11:30 at night.
Okay.
Oh, that's creepy.
Yeah. Well, at first I was a bit worried when he seemed to be keen to
So
start
at midnight you were with this strange man drafting text while your wife and child were at home.
drafting poetry.
It's not the kind of thing you see on Crime Watch, is it, when you see a CCTV from an all-night garage? Co-authoring. And now a terrible case of co-authoring in Andover. I've never seen that. Usually they're knocking them about. It's good on you for going in there and and writing with him like that.
So I think what he said is that I think maybe he had received that and he wanted to reply back in a way, and he said he wanted to bump his friend.
Oh.
He wanted to bump him.
What, move him off the chat show?
No, I think he meant like I want to shake him up, shake up what he thinks. And I
see.
So
I hope that's what he meant.
He didn't mean as in, come on and do the bump. Do you remember the bump? Sort of 70s dance?
I know the bump and
bumps.
grind.
I'll bump and grind or the bumps. So what we drafted, so I got an idea of what he wanted to say, and this is what we came up with as the proverb that we were to send his friend.
Oh, it's a proverb now?
I think so.
What,
and
you've concocted it?
I polished it up. I've put in some extra
Okay.
words. So a boy who has failed in love keeps his beard, but if a girl
changed it at all.
But if a girl, no, the second
wait,
bit,
stick
Oh,
around.
sorry, sorry.
and it's something different to the other one because he wants to say something. But if a girl fails in love, she'll find someone else. This is what he wanted to say.
I don't think it's better. Why does it make any more sense?
Boy
It was better
fouls in
before,
love,
Frank.
keeps his beard. Woman fouls in love, she gets someone else.
This is what he wanted to say to his friend. I think that.
Oh, that's
you
going
know,
to cheer him up. I don't think it. I don't think it makes more sense.
Woman fouls in love, loses about half a stone in stress, and then finds someone else much quicker. That's God's way of people getting their next relationship.
So no, you're right. It wasn't exactly a closure. What I did is a policeman arrived.
Policeman arrived, not the poetry police.
Who called the cops?
And he served the policeman, and I said, "Can I take a picture of this?" Because I wanted a record
A memento.
of the notes.
Who
And
wouldn't?
he said, "Why?" And I said, "Just because I want."
The policeman said.
No, the man.
Oh, right.
And
Oh,
so
he
I took
got
a
he
picture,
turned then. I think he got nasty.
and then I left.
Oh,
while the policeman was there.
Did you take a photo?
Yeah, I took a photo. Yeah.
He's all right with that.
Yeah.
What worries me is that it could be some, big relationship decision that you've contributed and you don't even know what you're saying quite. Some bloke could have left
Isn't
his
that like
wife.
everything in life?
Well, yeah, but, you could have broken a marriage, family and everything just on the strength of an ad hoc homemade proverb. I hate it when that happens.
Look, I just polished up the grammar. He really he decided the meaning. I'd like to make
Didn't
that
Wayne
clear.
Rooney
Also, it does
polish
sound
up
a
the
little bit a little bit sexist, and I want to say in the current climate, I do not endorse the views of that. Women can keep their beards as well if they want.
Well, yeah, many do. Yeah, well, that's my favourite proverb was always "marry in haste, repent at leisure."
Oh, I like that as well.
I love the idea of repenting at leisure. Well, I'm going to repent now, so I'll just get my feet up, get my tracky bottoms on.
You could go to the leisure centre.
Yeah,
On the water
I
flumes?
don't see that as not for me. I'm frightened of water.
They make it sound quite nice.
But the idea of getting cosy on the sofa and then really repenting about the fact that you got married is, I think that's.
Do you know what I've never
beautiful.
understood, Frank? Is a friend in need is a friend indeed. Why you're not a better friend because you've got a problem? I'd rather a friend who's not in need.
No, I mean, I think it's a friend who is a friend to you when you are in need.
It's not
Yes.
made clear though.
Yes.
It's really not made clear.
A lot of them are confusing. like starve a cold, feed a fever. People think if you have a cold, you're supposed to starve it.
That's what I've always
And
thought.
no, it means if you starve a cold, you'll feed a fever.
No,
I've
that's
known that.
Yeah, it
My
means if
goodness.
you don't eat when you got a cold, it'll develop
that true?
into a fever. Yes.
I thought you should starve. I didn't
in
know
what?
that.
Is there any
No,
illness when
this
you're
is
supposed
very
to starve
bad
it?
news.
Yeah, it's called my life. But no, I didn't know. I didn't know that.
Modelling.
I've always starved the cold. Oh my god, I'm not doing that again.
Fool.
Really?
What does bird in the hand, two in the bush mean, or whatever?
You stay out of that. You're not leading me into a Sky Sports incident. So how was your posh do, by the way?
Oh yeah, we had the install BAFTA party. It's
Emily,
great,
by the
Frank.
way, is the deputy editor of Install magazine.
Very good.
So this
And-
was like an after-party thing for the BAFTAs? Was...
No, a pre-party, darling. The
Pre-party,
BAFTAs are in a
oh.
while. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
A pre-party,
Oh,
as in
pre-party.
weeks before.
Yeah, 2 weeks before or something.
And did you organise this event?
Yes, I did.
Oh, my
Stressful.
invitation must have been lost in the post. Sorry, it's
Oh,
not
I'm
good post
sorry,
in my
Gareth.
house.
I
No, it's
would
got
have
not
asked
good-
you.
No, the postage isn't good.
No one else in this room was invited. Frank.
Okay.
Frank
no.
was invited because he's a celebrity. But
I couldn't go. What?
can I
can't
tell you
remember
what
why
the
I couldn't
excuse your
go.
management company gave?
What?
He's out of the country. That's how desperate he was not to come. He said he was out of the country.
I wasn't out of the country, but I was
No,
definitely...
you did have some strange ukulele evening or something. I don't know what it was.
Yeah, I can't remember.
But your girlfriend came
Yes.
with the man about the house, Rachel.
Oh, yeah, they were both
They
there.
were in full effect.
Can you play this if I'm not there? Surely it's just two women.
Did they wear the masks? Because they could wear the
No.
Frank
Oh,
Skinner
yeah.
mask that
Yeah,
someone
that's
gave
a
you,
good
and then
idea.
that would have been like having...
But they had a male friend who I really liked, actually. He's my
Yes.
new friend. And so he sort of served... He was you for the night.
Well,
But it was a great evening, Frank. It was great. Well, there's a swimming pool. It was the rooftop of that members club, Shoreditch
blimey.
House, so there was a pool. Well, I was worried because members can still use the pool. There was a woman swimming before it started. I thought, I don't want her traipsing through in old towels and, bikini
no,
falling off.
Having
Somebody
to do
get
that-
a net! Get a net!
did she was that her name? She did that. Did she do that thing when you have to shower your feet a bit before you go on? You know those things where you have to get your scrub because you don't want some celebrity going on with a veruca.
Do you know what it was? I think she was staying there rather bullishly. I think it was her way of saying, well, you may have your party. I'm not getting out of the pool.
Yeah, fair
the
enough.
lights were going on. The music was starting. She was still doing laps.
Well, respect.
Yeah. So then...
People thought it was the worst synchronised swimming display that had ever been organised.
So then the celebrities started arriving.
Oh, exciting.
Heidi Klum. Oh, she's tall. She's
Is she
tall.
tall?
Oh, she's ever so
Well,
tall.
I've met Heidi Klum a couple of times. I interviewed
Oh.
her and I.
With seal or without?
This is pre-seal.
Oh, pre-seal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is his first name Ron, or is that? Have I made that up? No, she. I tell you what I think about her. She's a kind of an identikit picture of a beautiful woman.
Yeah.
So she looks like kind of what you expect a beautiful woman to be. But I like women who look slightly more. I like the director's cut of a beautiful woman. Do you know what I
Okay.
mean? So I find her a little. I like those kind of news reporters you get on Sky. You know, they're slightly,
Careful.
you know what I mean? They're slightly masculine women who you know,
jaw.
who've studied a lot and went to, you can imagine them at home with like a, wet hair and a towel round them.
Maybe it was her coming out of our pool.
Yeah, maybe spectacles on, reading Time magazine, that kind of.
Oh, okay. A bit
so-
more complex
So
beauty.
I wasn't very, I'm not
Cracking
very
pair of
excited.
pins, though, Frank. I can say that. You two can't.
Well, I'll tell you, I met Denise is it Outen or Outen?
Outen.
Okay. I met Denise Van Outen at the crisp shoot, as I like to
Oh,
call
yeah.
it.
Was she the only girl there?
Well, she's going to wax us. The
Oh,
ones
my
that,
God, you said that.
Yeah.
An awful moment.
the three who sell the
Oh, I
least.
feel sick.
The three who sell the least. I'm keeping going. The three who sell the least amount of crisp, they have to be body waxed by Denise Van.
We've got to buy your
Outen.
crisps. I'm not having you doing that.
I know, because remember, so my Frank roast dinner, Jimmy Concarney, Stephen Fryup.
Can I be honest? He'd be the worst to wax. Stephen Fry up.
I mean, it'd be a big job. Him and Al.
Oh, he's a big old thing.
When I made this point, I said, I pity the poor wax. Whereas, Jimmy.
You and Jimmy would be quite a nice little job.
Jimmy's so thin now, you could do that thing that people do when they take lint off a black sweater. Just put a bit of sellotape round your finger and you could do Jimmy. A treat. But, so anyway, we had to do a photo shoot with Denise. Also it struck me that we've all had, like, puns on our names for these crisps. What if Quentin Crisp had been involved in this? What the hell would they have called the crisp? Just crisps.
Crisps.
Yeah, difficult. Anyway, so I never realised what, and I don't want to say this in any sort of a sort of leering way. I mean, I said to her, goodness, I mean, she has got the longest leg. You could play snooker with Denise Van Outen,
Outen.
and
With her legs.
and when she played the shot, they'd get out the long cue. She didn't even get out the long rest. You could put one leg on the table and just rest the cue in between her. They are she's like Stretch Armstrong.
Wow.
Incredibly long. I had no idea they were so long.
You're going to have to be careful. I'm looking at you. I'm a bit concerned.
If she
What
had
have
a
we been
laptop-
talking about on this very podcast?
If she was using a laptop on her lap and the modem was between her toes, her reception wouldn't be very good. That's how long her legs are. Anyway, So that was Heidi Klum. Who else came?
Heidi was there. Tandy Newton.
Is it Tandy or is it Thandy?
It's Tandy.
See, I thought it was Thandy.
I'm
I always
glad
thought
you weren't there.
I thought she was christened by Chris Eubank.
No, she...
Tandy Newton.
Yeah, Tandy.
Stupid name.
Oh, I'm glad you weren't there. You would have ruined it. Stupid name.
Well...
David Baddiel was there, Frank. In fact, the male model David Gandy was there. You know, the very good-looking one.
He's very thin, isn't he, David Gandy?
I thought you meant David Baddiel.
No.
David
Gandy's the one that wears like a big white nappy and little round spectacles.
Right, you know who he is, don't
Yes,
you?
the one
With the white pants, like in the boat, yeah.
But sometimes
I think I saw him on the cover of a magazine.
Oh, you will have.
On the shelf.
He said...
In fact, I said to him, love is like Gandhi on a shelf.
I asked him
Love
who
is
was the most stylish, best-looking man there. You know what he said? David Baddiel. Wow. He said, I think he looks great. I'm not joking.
So they don't let him choose his own clothes, do they?
So what was David Baddiel wearing?
Well, he had his sort of it's a bit New York film intellectual look. He has like a black suit and skinny black tie. You know, his glasses as well. He had a little bit of a look going on. He looked good.
I'm glad. Well, I on the celebrity front, I met Dr. Jonathan Miller.
Did you?
This week? Oh. Yeah, I went to an opera at the Coliseum in London, and he directed it, and he was just standing there in the corner, and I looked at him and he looked at me, and I kind of assumed, foolishly, that he'd know who I was, arrogantly perhaps, and I went over and shook his hand, and he looked utterly bemused. He looked like I was going to help him across the road or something. I mean, he was, and I'll tell you something, he's about, what is he, 80?
Yeah, he's knocking on that one.
He looked older than that. He looked like he'd had his face underwater for a few hours and it'd gone like your fingertips go in the bath. And he had jeans on.
No.
And now I had my birthday this week, and I had jeans on. I don't know if you noticed. You saw me on my birthday.
Yeah, I did notice.
And I went and I looked in the mirror after, and I had a flashback to Dr. Jonathan Miller in jeans, and I thought maybe I can never ever wear jeans.
You're not
again.
that old, Frank.
No, I think...
As Daisy pointed out only last week, Ronnie Wood's older.
Yeah, I just think if I see a man that old in jeans, I assume he must have pooed the other trousers. And that's all they could find. And I don't... I'm actually thinking there's an age now where jeans...
What do you think is the cut-off point for jeans?
Oh, I don't think you should wear cut-offs. That would have looked grotesque.
You're listening to Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio, the softest, mintiest show in town. Sponsored by Tree Bar Soft Mints.
Absolute Radio.